Okay, so welcome all to our talk today with Hell or High Water on rebuilding a brand. Now, Hell or High Water started off under a different branding and faced all sorts of adversity before turning that around quite spectacularly into their new brand. Ollie has very kindly taken the time to tell us the story today. And we're thinking it might be helpful to people who are looking at creating a new brand. And to be honest, you know, in the early stages of brand as well, there's a lot of things to consider and a lot at stake, as I'm sure Ollie will explain. So without further ado, I'll pass you over to Ollie to introduce himself.
So hello all. My name is Olli Hietalahti. I'm a founding partner of One Night Spirits. We founded the company in 2010 with my partner Jouko Laune, and at that time we ventured in the spirits business based on a joke only. We were sitting in a bar in Amsterdam, and we saw a rum poster on the wall, and there was a pretty picture of a rum bottle, and then it said ron de something. So we realized ron is the Spanish word for rum, and we thought that was interesting. And a couple seconds later, we started thinking who's the most famous ron in the world, and we simultaneously thought, oh yeah, that's Ron Jeremy. So we thought that was really funny, and that was a joke at that time, and it was a joke for about 6 years until we started thinking about a bit more seriously, and then created the Ron de Jeremy rum brand. And that went on for the past 10 years until quite spectacularly Ron got into some pretty serious trouble, and we were faced with the serious task of doing either getting out of the rum business or rebranding. So that we can talk a bit later today.
Absolutely, thank you so much. And with starting up the business, I think there's going to be some helpful information in here for people looking to start up. It was a bit tricky to get things moving, and you had to work really hard to get this project off the ground, didn't you?
Yes, initially, since our background is from totally different industry, we came from advertising, so we knew about brand building, and we were confident that we could do that part. But everything else within the spirits industry, we knew nothing about. We didn't know where to get the rum, how to find the distribution, how to get the financing, and everything else that's sort of part of the package. So all that we had to learn by doing, and by doing a lot of mistakes. And so yes, it was tricky, and it's always tricky for anybody who starts a new brand, especially in the new business.
Absolutely. So with getting things started, you did some training, which was obviously quite fun in rum, and then you found somebody initially, you know, third party with the distillation. But am I right in thinking there were some issues there with a fire?
Yeah. When, like I said, originally we didn't even know much about rum. We stumbled in the branding idea, and then we started looking into people who knew more about rum and more about the industry. And we found this fine gentleman called Luis Ayala from Texas. He's one of the leading rum experts in the world. He writes books, has a big blog. He's a judge in competitions, and consults smaller and larger brands on the distillation process and everything regarding rum. So we met with him, sat in his living room for a couple of days tasting different rums. He had 800 different rum bottles in his bookshelf, so he was educating us on nuances of the business and rums in general. And through him, we finally settled on a bottle that we liked, and he said, "Oh, that's a good choice." And then he led us to Panama, and we started the business in Panama. And after a couple of years, while we were doing really well at that time, we had been expanding to about 20 countries, and in the US we were in about 15 states, and everything was looking really promising after working really hard for a couple of years. And then they had a fire in Panama at their bottling plant, which destroyed our stock. We went out of stock for half a year, almost went out of business. So at that point, we had to kind of look in the mirror and decide what we're going to do, whether we continue with the business or find a new supplier, find a new way of doing the business. So ever since we've been bottling and blending in Europe. But that was part of the education process, all the difficulties we've been facing, and fire was definitely one of the defining moments in our journey.
Brilliant. Well, not the fire, obviously, sorry. And then the next step, I would say the next hurdle you had to face was COVID. You know, that hit you guys pretty hard as well, am I right?
That's true. I think COVID hit everybody pretty hard, but for us the timing was really difficult, almost comically bad. Like I said, we started the brand with Ron Jeremy, and most of you know Ron Jeremy is or has been the most famous porn star in the world, and that the brand was based on that humor. The branding was always based on the humor. The rum was serious, so the brand was fun. Rum was serious. We played with that dichotomy for about 10 years. But let's say over the years, we started to focus more on the rum, more on the serious side, the good side of the rum. And the rum was always good. We won dozens of awards all over the world. But let's say around 2018, 17, 18, 19, we were starting to look at the brand and Ron Jeremy, the guy behind the branding, and let's say, to say it nicely, we wanted to more and more distinguish the Ron brand from the man himself. Let's say he was not getting younger. Let's put it that way. So 2019, we did a big rebranding effort. We designed a new bottle, which is actually the same bottle size shape as we have in the Hello High Water rum. Did all the new labels and reduced Ron Jeremy's how much he was visible in the branding, reduced that quite a bit. So all that was ready, or getting ready when the COVID hit. We were heading in the very large productions, and so when the COVID hit, and so the timing for that was extremely bad. 2020 spring, somehow we survived that spring, and in the summer things were starting to look a little bit better, and by that time we did the actual production. So looking into June 2020, we had a massive inventory of the new rebranding Ron Jeremy bottles. And, in June 23rd, 2020, Ron Jeremy was arrested for serious sexual charges, and so he's arrested, and at the same time we have massive bigger inventory than we've ever had. So we were faced with a pretty interesting situation at that time.
Yeah, and hugely challenging. I think when we spoke before, you mentioned there was a point you're like, do I walk away? But you had sort of 10 years of work under your belt. How do you walk away from that? So you guys decided to rebrand.
Yeah, exactly. We kind of identified three options. Continuing with Ron Jeremy brand, and then that was not morally possible for us, and it was sort of against everything that we founded the brand to begin with. The brand was founded on humor. We always want to make people smile, smile twice. First when they see the brand because it's funny, and the second time when they taste the liquid. So that option was off the table. Second option would be to quit. I mean, things didn't turn out like they could have. We had a good run for 10 years, so let's just quit. Our third option is to continue and rebrand, and that's what we decided to do. We kind of realized that the most valuable thing that we have had at the moment was not the connection to an ex-porn star. It was the work we've been doing for 10 years, all the connections and all the knowledge that we've gathered, and also the fantastic liquids, the products itself, the rum itself. So all that, we had all that, so we didn't want to throw that away, but sort of build on that. So that's what we decided to do, and that was a decision that was all kind of relieving us as well, since we had been seeing Ron Jeremy going into maybe a wrong direction, and now we could leave all that behind. And so that felt good. But at the same time, we had the massive inventory, and unless we were able to sell that, we would go, basically we'd go bankrupt. So that was a very tricky situation at that time.
Yes, and it's so much pressure for you guys to be under. Everything is at stake, you know, and it's honestly, I've got a lot of admiration for you guys, how you've turned this around. So you started looking, you know, for a new idea, and you had this realization that what you'd been through was the perfect rebrand, and that's what you've done.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's as soon as we made the decision that we have to rebrand, we cannot continue with Ron Jeremy. We started looking at what is there, where do we find the core of the new brand, the red thread, and how are we going to do it. And pretty quickly within our internal discussions, we kind of went back into our own story, the hardships and the journey and the difficulties, and getting knocked down and rising up again, and the adversities and all that. And that started to sound good. It started to sound that's something that is something that we can own, and that is something that is relevant for us. And we also thought that maybe that's something that's the story of winning through hardships, winning through adversities, is something that's relevant for everybody, or most of the people, especially during the past couple of years, the COVID and everything. Things have been very difficult for all of us. So we thought that maybe that's inspiring for other people as well. It's relevant for us, but it could be something that touches other people as well. And so that was the sort of the core that we started look at the names, and we had hundreds of different options, and I was kind of keen on dualistic names, you know, night and day and all that. So we had a long list of different names, saints and sinners, and gods and glory, and so on and so on, and different options, until we stumbled into this phrase, "Come hell or high water," and that felt right. That felt something that's us. That's our story. So after that, it was easy, and that's how we came into this hell or high water rum. That's something that works for us, and we feel that it's a brand and a name that people can identify with.
Absolutely, and there's a real power to it, because it's like you say, you know, most people, if not everyone, can identify with, you know, the hardships that we go through in life. But it's so incredibly sort of related to you, and you really own it, you know, like I'd just like to point out for the viewers, you know, your outfit, because you wore that at was it a conference in Berlin, did you say before?
Was that?
The conference that you went to in Berlin, where you first donned your
Oh
outfit.
yeah, right. Yeah, I should have started saying that. I mean, that's why I look like this.
People have been wondering.
Yeah, we don't go around walking like this every day, but on the right occasion, this is the look for the brand. And it was funny when we, like you said, we did this in Berlin Bar Convent, and a lot of people came to us and asked, is everything okay? What happened to you? Well, you know, a lot of things happened. 10 years in Rum happened to us, so it's perfect.
Oh, it's brilliant. It's so good. What was I going to ask as well? Yes, how have you found the response from people to the rebrand? People taking it well? Have you had good sales improving? Are things getting better?
Yeah, people take it really well. They obviously, some of the people that are most important for us are our distributors and importers. Their bosses and their salespeople and all that. Though those are the core people then, and they all, first of all, they understood that we had to change. There's no question about that. And they understood the new brand. They liked the new brand. They immediately understood what we were aiming at, and so it has been taken. People have taken it really well. Also, consumers, they understand the brand. It seems to resonate with them.
Yeah, resonating is the right word. It's something I wanted to mention actually, because you know, when companies or people create a brand, you know, they're always looking for these identifiers, be it a location, something local, a story. And there is sometimes a sense of creation there, but with you guys, it's very much just all true, heart on your sleeve. And you know, some companies shy away from that a bit, you know, so it's really refreshing. And I just love the fact it's working so well for you, you know, and I can understand why it is, I think.
Yeah, I think, yeah, if you look around and well, in any sector, but let's focus on spirits, and there are so many new brands around. A lot of them kind of seems to me that they are trying to blend in. They look at, okay, I have a gin, and this is what gins look like, and I need to look like that, instead of doing the other way around, which is sort of the core of any good brand. The core of branding is to distinguish yourself or your brand from competition, instead of trying to be something like everybody else is. So that's what we are trying to do. Within the rum category, there are so many brands that take themselves extremely serious, and they're serious and only focus on the heritage and provenance and so on. So we have a great liquid, we have great rum, but we feel that our brand has to be more. It has to have an element that touches people, that brings it to a different level. So it's about life and lifestyle and emotions. So we're very keen on trying to create emotions and reactions. I think, to me, those brands that create reactions, whether they're positive or negative, as long as there's a reaction, then that tells me that there's something behind that brand. So there's something strong in that brand.
Yeah, absolutely. And that makes a lot of sense to me, because I always used to look at branding as being the trigger to make someone pick up a bottle. So the branding had to work, and then the liquid had to work.
Yeah.
But over years, I've come to realize that it goes a lot deeper, and you start to associate that idea of the brand with the liquid as you drink it. And if you're drinking a product that's made by people and you're totally behind their story and what they're doing, you have a different appreciation to that liquid than if it didn't have that story, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think the storytelling in spirits is extremely important, and maybe a bit more important than in many other fields, since the liquid delivers the story so quickly. If you drink something that tastes like shit, there's no story that will save it.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I was just about to ask you if you had any final advice, but maybe that was it. Is there anything else you want to add, maybe for people who are looking to create a new brand and the sort of things, if you could give the advice to yourself, what would it be?
Like I just said, try, if you are about to create a brand, make it different from other brands. That's the first step. And then if you want to venture in the spirits business, it's a great business to be. There's a lot of great people in, but just be prepared to fall down a couple times before you make a success. That's what we've been doing, and that's what kind of happens to everybody. It will take more time than you think, most likely. But if you have a great product, you do your homework and branding well, and are persistent, then good things will happen.